I'd like to start the meeting. This is a meeting for the Old Center Historic District Commission. And I'd like to start the meeting by reading an order from the Governor of Massachusetts concerning public meetings. Pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12, 2020 order, suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, paragraph 30 or section 38, paragraph 18, and the Governor's March 15, 2020 order imposing strict limitations on the number of people that may gather in one place, this meeting of the North Andover Historic District Commission is being conducted via remote participation. No in-person attendance of members of the public will be permitted, but every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings as provided by the order. A reminder that persons who would like to listen to this meeting while in progress may do so by watching on your television on Comcast Channel 99 or Verizon Channel 28, or by online by visiting www.northandovercam.org. We've taken a roll call, and we do have a quorum of the commission. We do have the applicants here, and they're present. And I'm going to open up the meeting. So first, second item on the agenda is any old business. So I will open it up for anyone who has any old business that they would like to bring up. Any commission members?
Nothing.
Okay. No. Yep. No old business. The third thing on the agenda item is an application for a certificate of appropriateness for the property located at 83 Academy Road. Prior to us opening up that hearing, I will read a statement prior to that hearing. Pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, Section 30A, paragraph 18, and the Governor's March 15, 2020 order imposing strict limitations on the number of people that may gather in one place, this public hearing on the North Andover Old Center Historic District Commission is being conducted via remote participation. No in-person attendance or members of the public will be permitted by the public, and the public can listen to this meeting by visiting Comcast Channel 99 or Verizon Channel 28, or online with www.northandover.cam.org. Members of the public attending this meeting virtually will be allowed to make comments if they wish to do so during this portion of the hearing designated for public comment by emailing direct your questions or comments prior to or during the meeting to HAZNOIAN@NORTHANDOVERMA.gov. With that, we'll open up the application for a certificate of appropriateness. Okay.
Hello, Harry. This is Mike Lenahan.
Yes.
On this particular item, I need to recuse myself from voting on the 83 Academy Road due to a potential conflict.
Okay, thank you. That's noted. Any other comments prior to us opening up the application? Okay. What I'll do is I will read what the application for this is, and then we will open it up. What I would like to do, since this is a significant alteration and addition to the property, is I'd like for us to sort of approach this in a two-step method, if everybody is in agreement. I think the first thing is in a general sense, the footprint of what this sort of alteration is in general, and then secondarily we can discuss any of the architectural details or the material details or the details of the project itself. And that way we can kind of break it apart so that it's sort of more manageable, if you will, rather than trying to just open it up for everything and go all over the place. Is everybody okay with approaching it in that way?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, Harry, could you please repeat the web address for logging on to this? You said www something. To access the CAM.
Yeah, www.northandovercam.org.
Okay, is that North Andover spelled out?
Yes.
Cam.org.
Correct.
Okay, well, it'd be nice if I could see something.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, so.
Oh, well, that doesn't work.
It should. Are you www.north, or spelled out, North Andover Cam.
No.
.org.
Oh. Then what should I be looking for if I get on that? Yeah, I got this.
Well, you should be able to view from that website. Should be like a live stream.
Yeah, I'm on the website. So.
Yeah, in that instance for you, Marty, you're probably going to be able to just get the audio. There is no video. The video is nothing more than I haven't seen it, but it'll just be a sort of a template saying that the Old Center Historic Commission is having its meeting right now. So it allows you the opportunity to listen.
I see. Well, it's a bit difficult because I have no idea who's speaking or anything, but I'll do my best. Okay.
So I'm going to read the application for 83 Academy Road, which is in the share drive if you click on the agenda for the certificate of alteration.
See anything. All I get is audio. So.
Okay. Okay, so the application says the detailed description of the proposed work at 83 Academy Road. Given all particulars of work to be done under Section 8, including materials of use, specifications, and plans. The existing single-family residence was built in 1833. Modifications to the main house, including a covered porch, took place in 1874. For the attached historic photos and family records, which are included in the share folder, the covered front porch remained in place until about 1931. As a family heir, I would like to reconstruct the covered front porch for both aesthetic reasons and to provide a covered area to sit outside, as well as to.
This is the local historic district committee. So let's see if do this thing.
Who's this?
No.
Who's this? Okay. I'll continue. For both aesthetic reasons and to provide a covered area to sit outside, as well as to provide a protected transition to the front door of my residence. In review of the historical photos, it is noted that there are lattice panels that are integrated within the perimeter of the covered porch support columns. Although lattice panels were commonly integrated within residential structures during this time period, there were many other covered porch details in this era that do not have lattice panels, and I would prefer not to include lattice in the proposed reconstruction. In completing historical research of covered porches built in the 1870s, we identified several examples that could serve as an inspiration for our design. See the attached photos. Again, those photos are in the share folder. They are labeled example photos of covered porches built in the 18th century for reference. All exterior trim elements would be painted to match the existing off-white color of the existing house trim, and the asphalt roof shingles would match the dark gray existing house roof shingles. The interior porch ceiling of the covered porch would be stained tongue and groove beaded fir wood panels. We feel that the proposed design plans within this application are compatible with both the existing historical residence and former covered porch features that once existed and thus remain consistent with the goals of the North Andover Historical District Commission. That's the application. Are there any questions on the application?
No.
No.
Okay. Okay. So, what I'd like to do is, again, open this into a multi sort of phase approach, because there's a lot of pieces to this in the application. I would suggest that we look at, in the share folder, the proposed
The hell is the ship?
proposed Stevens porch document labeled proposed Stevens porch 8.6.20-2. If we look at that plan, it gives us a before, sort of a kind of a elevations of the existing conditions, and then the footprint of where the proposed covered porch addition would be in relation to those existing conditions.
Harry, could I say something that we didn't put in that narrative?
Sure.
So currently, there's a stone patio in front of my house.
Correct.
And the porch, the footprint of the porch will be the footprint of the existing patio. So I'm sorry I didn't send you a picture of how it looks now, because that could show you the footprint.
Yeah. Thank you, Kathy. I appreciate what you're explaining. I think if we look at if we look at the page 1 of this document, what you're saying, Kathy, is that footprint that we're looking at kind of overlays where the current brick patio is.
Right.
Right.
And if I could add, by looking closely at the historic photos, the 8-foot depth appears to be what the former historic porch was, which is also approximately 1.5 feet off the corner of the house in width. So the 8-foot depth is also consistent with the former porch, the existing brick patio, and the footprint of the proposed porch.
I see. Yeah. And Mark, do you want to just comment on, as we're looking at this footprint and the integration of the roof line? Do you want to comment just on that piece as well?
Yes. So as best we could, and the only we have I believe just 3 historic photos included in your packet of the original house and the porch on the original house. You know, we're fortunate to have these old photos because, again, the porch was torn down in the early 1930s. By all, you know, by evidence of it, the historic porch had 6 columns across the front. Again, appears to be 8 foot deep. The corner posts were set in from the corner of the house, approximately 18 inches, and it had a hip roof. on the porch itself. So those main elements, along with a drop beam connecting the post, all are main structural elements and defining architectural elements that we incorporated within the proposed design. So as you mentioned, the first kind of criteria for review is the footprint. And we feel that we match the footprint and scale of the original porch that once existed. And then we kept the main architectural elements of the 6 columns across the front and the hip roof of the porch the same. And
Okay.
so the only difference is some detailing.
Which we
towards,
should talk, yeah, we'll talk about that, I think, separately. Let's just,
Right.
let's take it in small bites so that we can at least see how the commission is going to feel on just the footprint first.
Very good.
So let me open it up now to the commission members. In terms of the footprint, the roof design, 6 columns, and roughly an 18-inch setback from the 2 sides, and the roof line, the hip roof. Let's just talk about that first, and see if there's concerns of adding this type of alteration to the building, which was there at the turn of the century, right up into the 1930s, and whether or not there's a consensus and feeling that this would be appropriate.
This is Leslie. I have no problem with this at all.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is Roger. I don't have any problems either.
Okay.
This is Kathy. Kathy Siska. I don't have any problems. I mean, it was there for almost 30 years, so I have no problem.
Okay. Mike, you are not in there. Marty?
Yeah.
Thoughts on adding the alteration, the porch footprint?
I was conferring with my daughter, who was trying to help me out with this unsuccessfully. So what was the question?
Well, there's a current, there's a current, the proposal is to duplicate the footprint along with 6 columns and a hip roof on the structure.
Yeah, I did see the application at one point. It is unfortunately not in front of me right now, so I can't really comment that specifically on it. Oh,
Okay.
I'm getting an awful lot of background noise.
Okay. Well, that's fine. Ryan?
I think that, from what I saw, it was very appropriate, and I didn't have any major problems with it at all.
Okay. Ryan?
Yeah, Harry. I don't have any problems. Just feel like it matches the historical photos pretty well. So I think they did a nice job with it.
Okay. Thank you. And Laurie?
Yep, I agree.
Okay. So I think
Harry?
we're all, yes.
Harry, did you know I'm on? It's Kim.
No, Kim, I did not. Thank you, Kim.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining. So Kim, thoughts on the footprint?
So since they're not really changing the footprint, I don't have any issue with the plans.
Okay. Okay. Good. All right. So I think there's agreement, is what I've heard. We haven't voted on it, but at least in principle, we've got agreement of of an addition or an alteration to the structure to incorporate a covered porch in the fashion and footprint that was pre-existing there, at least in principle. So I would like now to focus on, as Mark had indicated, sort of the design elements now of what's being proposed. And I think what we could do is we can have a discussion. I'll open it up for discussion on the design elements. Mark, prior to me opening it up to the commission, perhaps you can go through at least on the same document, the proposed Stevens porch 8.6.20-2 for those who are following along at home and wish to send in comments. I think I would focus on page 3 and page 4, and perhaps you can walk us through the thought process a little bit, and then we'll open it up for discussion.
Very good. So I'll call attention to both. We'll start on the front elevation, which is, I think, page 3 of the plan documents. It's also labeled A200 on our architectural set. And also, if you're able to, we have, as mentioned in the application, there's some example photos of covered porches built in the 19th century. These are particularly in that, 1830s range and to 1870s. And
so, Mark, I'd like to just, for those who are following along in the shared drive, that document that Mark just referred to is labeled example photos of covered porches. I was just going to get the title correct.
Yeah,
example photos of covered porches built in the 18th century. That's the label for that document. It is a Word document that Mark referred to. Okay, Mark.
Yeah, just a minor correction, built in the 19th century. So the 1800s. So it should be labeled 19th century. And so looking at the architectural sheet A200, again, you see the proposed covered porch with 6 columns across the front and a hip roof. The first to note is that the center column bay is wider. That did appear to be the case in the historic photos as well. And we felt it was important to frame the attractive ornamental front door and side lights with transom and trim. So those columns are set at the clear width of the pilasters on either side of the front door side lights. So it nicely frames that attractive front door setup. In turn, the adjacent posts are framing the windows on either side of the front door. So the posts are set up nicely to frame and center the historic windows that you see beyond in the existing house. That we studied and felt was important and very, very much a kind of a classic architectural alignment. In turn, we in studying posts, we found it's very common to have large square posts themselves with a wider base to them, and at which the railing system would attach to. More details of the post and rail system can be seen on page 4 of your documents, which is labeled A201 on the architectural set. And in this, you'll see, more dimension details of the wider base to the post, and as well as the railing system itself. In turn, we found many examples of historic porches that had the arch detail as depicted at the top of the post with the separate trim element to help scale the post down. And that was a detail, and going back to the front elevation A200, helps frame the windows, give a nice balance and center access to each of the windows beyond. Often it's a rail that they would use as plant hangers as well. I've seen that historically. You'll notice too that there's a dropped beam at the perimeter of the porch, which is an historic detail, and a soffit of approximately 1 foot in depth for the roof itself. And we have kept it, clean, fairly clean in this detailing, and really try to let the elements speak for themselves. But I feel that it was, again, a sensitive response to architectural details of that age, and certainly with the dimensions of our bays in terms of framing the front door and the windows was kind of appropriately organized. I'll open it up for questions.
So,
Harry,
Mark,
Ryan.
Go ahead, Ryan.
Just a quick question on the railing side. So it looks like it's about 1 foot 8, 8.25 inches. So I know that's probably done that way for the historical aspect of it. Are there going to be any issues with the building department having a railing that low, or do we have any thoughts on that?
I can speak to that as well. The railing is shown as 30 inches, which is below normal guardrail height. But understand you're under, you're only 14 inches or so off the grade, and technically we're not required to have a railing at all.
Okay. All right.
By building code. We're close enough to the grade not to require railing. But we did it for decorative.
Is there a reason why, I think in the pictures there isn't a railing, or am I missing that? Is there a reason why they're adding one?
There is a rail, but there's lattice panels associated with it as well. And the rail is low as well.
Okay.
Okay.
I'll point out too that all material is to be painted white, of the same off-white color throughout. We do indicate a high grade. It's a PVC decking in dark hickory, which looks very similar to mahogany. It would only be at the deck level, and it's a dark brown. And then we are putting stained fir, beaded fir for the ceiling, which is a classic porch element also from the 19th century through today. But all the other trim would be painted to match the off-white of the house.
Would the stain ceiling be a dark stain or a light stain? The ceiling.
Kathy, do you have a preference?
No, I don't care.
I've seen it in both both cases. I would think it'd be a medium stain, but not, you know, the natural is very beautiful with fur, but a lot of people would go for kind of a medium type of stain within it.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
So, Mark, this is Harry. I do have several questions that I would like to kind of explore. So, the choice on the column design itself, right? The original porch had it had round columns. It looks like in the picture. You're proposing square columns.
Yeah,
Correct.
you know, it did have, Harry, you're right. The original one had round, and when I looked at round against the house, everything on the house is square. And the round just didn't look right to my eye. Because all the rest of the columns are square, and the house itself the windows are rectangular. The squareness, you know, the doorway is all rectangles, and then there are these round columns, which seemed jarring.
And I will point out there are historic examples of both.
There are.
And
I
you do find them mixed up. You know, as we all know, the round columns date back to the Greeks, and in almost every architectural style, you'll find round columns weaved in them, and sometimes more than others in styles. Says a Queen Anne feel, and we found a lot of square column examples.
Correct. That's correct.
Some rounds. So
that is correct.
I
The
do
Queen
feel
Anne
still, yeah.
definitely put the square columns through. The earlier 1860s, 1870s, more round. And so then your design is incorporating this archway rather than sort of brackets that were more Victorian. Not that the arches weren't, but you don't seem to have incorporated any like sort of, you know, in the reference documents you did in historical sort of review, in those arches, it looked like there was sort of some sort of keystone elements in the center of the arches. These arches that are being proposed are very well. There's no architectural element.
They're simple.
Yeah, but Victorian porches were by nature, because you know, during the Industrial Revolution, their ability to do intricate design work, like these brackets, like, you know, forget the lattice work, but just intricate designs, you know, via, you know, machining versus hand carving, was the whole sort of impetus behind a lot of this flamboyance, if you will, of Victorian. So I see the simplicity of it, but I'm you know, if we're going to try to have something of representation there, I would like to see something of a central sort of keystone feature. That's my opinion.
That's actually a really interesting idea. I hadn't thought about putting something between when we were talking about this, we were really focused on framing the windows, because I've seen porches where you put the porch on and all of a sudden the windows are hidden. The windows disappear. But are you envisioning, because I could see midway between the columns something that's like a decorative block?
Well, if I would may I call attention to the photos?
Yeah.
And that are good examples, and I think
Which photos, Mark?
respond.
So for people following along, I'm sorry.
Yeah, this is the example photos of covered porches built in the 19th century.
Right.
And these all show the arch, and there is, I would call it a finial.
We'd call it a finial.
It's almost like the top of a newel post,
Mm-hmm.
turned upside down at the peak of the arch. And so it's a decorative element right at the peak of the arch that works with the center. And I think, it's certainly something it's inherent in every one of the photos that I give you examples of. And you're correct, we simplified it, but I think that could easily be added in, and and just give a little more depth to the detailing.
Okay. Look, right now it's just a discussion. We're just discussing
right
openly.
But,
we have to hear the other commission members as well. And in that same vein, I'm trying to. In my mind, I'm trying to understand. I think the first part of what you described, Mark, about the orientation of the posts, the symmetry, how you've place them as in relative to the balusters of the door, and so I'm 100% with all of that. I'm trying to get into some of the more detail elements of what's making this come together. So I did notice on the original photo, going back to the original photo, the first photo that you provided us, both Mark and Kathy, that it appeared that, and it's very difficult. So I would caution myself because my eyes are not as good as they used to be. But in the first photo, it almost appears so along the roof line that there may be sort of Victorian brackets, if you will. Mark?
That would be consistent with the era. So a bracket from the beam to the soffit.
Correct. And it looks like the soffit sort of overhangs a little bit. And then there were like little bracket elements underneath that. Am I correct, or is that not?
I believe I'm seeing the same. I see it more in the first photo than the other ones. But and maybe the snow helps a little bit or something. But it and then equally you will see those brackets in the other photos at different spacings. If you look at the example photos of covered porches built in the 19th century, they also have brackets at that location.
I personally think that would also be a good design element to include. That's my thought on the reconstruction of this. So those two elements for me are sort of I don't want to say important, but things that I think would enhance the design, if you will. And my last point, and then it's 6:46, so I'm going to make my last point, Mark, and then I think we're going to have to continue this, Kathy, this meeting. We can continue it as soon as there's a next time slot, like next week or week after, if that's okay. But the actual porch flooring, Mark, the material, the mahogany. So my understanding of historic porches were, and I don't, you haven't really had an opportunity to answer the question yet, but typically porch flooring of that era and beyond were 1 by 6, usually perpendicular, not parallel to the doorway, and then they would come out in that fashion in single boards.
Correct. They would be tongue and groove and run.
Well, they could be 1 by
perpendicular
6s. They could be just a regular 1 by 6.
They could be
spacing.
right. And the
So
edge, the edge always rots out.
Exactly. So I'm not opposed to, using, although there's two schools of thought, I'm not that myself that extreme on material. I'm appreciating, this is now, a new era of having the ability to have PVC materials and paint them and get the durability. So that's not the issue for me, but the look is the issue for me.
Okay.
I am more inclined to, if I would want to see that look, that's what I would want to see, that 1 by 6 look, perpendicular, could be made out of PVC. That's fine. If you want to bevel the edges and make them a little rounded, like to duplicate like a 4 or something, that's fine. However that is, but at least that look. I don't think we would. I think we would be doing a disservice if we didn't do that. That's a key architectural element that I would like to see. Okay. We're at 6:48. So those are my 3 major things that I had on my list. We did not have a chance yet to open it up to the other commission members. We also have already received, several comments from the butters and so forth that will also need to be read and expressed out into the open meeting as well. That haven't happened, but there is another meeting. We originally had 2 hours. We have to at 6:49. North Andover Camp needs a few minutes to kind of cut us out and tee up the next meeting. I think it's a planning meeting. With that, I'm going to make a motion to continue this meeting. I need a second for that motion.
This is Roger. I'll second that.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Anybody opposed to that? So all in favor. So what we will do is Bernadette will help me in scheduling as soon as we have the next available slot for us to continue this meeting. I'm going to try to get us something that's more than 1 hour, just in case we need it, just so we can kind of wrap it up and not have to continue beyond that. Okay? So with that, the meeting it has been approved to be continued. We will continue this meeting and this application, and you will be hearing via email all of both Kathy and Mark, you guys as well, as to when the next time slot will be there. If there are any restrictions to people's timing, you can please forward that information to myself, and we'll try to work around that as well. Okay, thank you very much.
Alrighty.
Hey, Mark, if you want to, Mark, if you want to take some of these and in advance, maybe try to work with a few ideas and so forth and have them for the next meeting, that's also something you can do. It doesn't mean we're going to vote yes on that, but that certainly, you don't have to wait for us if that's something.
I appreciate that. I'll talk with Kathy and we'll look forward to the next meeting.